Okay. Hello, my name is Shane Brodie. I've been traveling around the country for a little over a year, actually, kind of going slowly. You know, I have to kind of pay my ways to go. I've been doing gig work and that sort of thing. I'm a transgender man. I've been interviewing trans people, intersex people, gender nonconforming, non-binary, etc. People, because that's my greater community, and I want to learn about my greater community, and also I want people to speak for themselves. I feel like we're in a weird time right now where people are talking about us and not to us, and not letting us speak about our own lives. And so I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to go to places where maybe people don't go all that often, like rural places, red states, that sort of thing. Talking to even religious people, atheistic people, people who are even conservative sometimes, libertarian, revolutionary communist, all kinds of people. And today I'm with a guest, and she's going to introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Tara J. My pronouns are she, her. I am a transgender woman. I have been socially transitioning for over 13 years now, and I have been on HRT for almost 4 years. I did do supplemental HRT for 3 years before I did HRT.
So that's like DIY or outside of the medical system?
Yeah, it's just basically your women's one a day, and then there's this company down in Florida that's owned by two trans femmes.
Okay.
And they create these products specifically for trans femmes, and one product in particular is a capsule, and in it contains a bovine estrogen.
Okay.
As well as other essential things for women to develop, long hair, breasts, long, strong nails, soft skin, stuff like that. And
Right.
they also developed a breast
And
cream.
a lot of cisgendered people take that kind of stuff, like supplements for hair and nails.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Yeah.
But this was specifically for the development for trans femmes.
Okay, great. Yeah.
And I did the breast cream for years and the pills for years. And then finally, when I was ready, I went to my doctor.
Okay, great. Yeah, there's, sorry, I'm scratching my eye. There's, we're by a lot of farmland and a lot of trees and probably a lot of flowering bushes and whatnot. So I'm like, ooh, itchy eyes. Actually, the drive here was really beautiful. It was like rolling hills and farmland, and it was really idyllic. Anyway, yeah, actually, I've heard of a lot of those kinds of services. This is more like vitamins and supplements and that sort of thing and whatnot, but I've also heard of services where you can go and there are people who are usually women who are versed in fashion and how to hairdressing and that sort of thing, and they will help trans women or even cross-dressers who don't necessarily identify within the trans community to look more feminine and to express themselves in how they imagine themselves. Yeah. And so I think that's pretty cool. That's a great service. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Was that expensive, by the way? Because that's sometimes a prohibitive
Yes.
thing. Yeah, aspect.
I mean, if you do like the package deal,
Sure.
you save a little bit of money.
Okay. But then you have to pay for the whole thing, the whole package. Right?
Yes. It was around $100 for the bottles of pills, the liquid drops, and then the breast cream and everything. And I did that for a little over 3 years.
Okay. All right. Well, probably it gave you really nice skin or something, I would imagine.
It did actually, surprisingly, these gimmicks, these as seen on TV gimmicks don't work for a lot of people, but they do for some.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it did work a little bit for me because when you start HRT within your first 4 to 6 month gap, you'll start to feel like somebody took a ball bat to your chest.
Oh.
Or you got kicked by a donkey.
Why?
Growing pains.
Okay. Okay,
And
because it's different on the other end.
yeah.
Yeah, and people like me, we get super hungry and we just want to eat all the time because we're like growing a lot more muscle and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. And I did feel a little bit of that.
Okay.
And they were growing. I had little buds, but they didn't go beyond that with
Okay.
the supplemental.
Yeah, you get what you get. Yeah, like for instance, I have a beard. Some trans men don't grow a beard at all. Yeah, I'm bald. Some keep their hair. Yeah. So when did you start HRT then?
Gosh, it was. We're coming up to September, so it was around September 12th.
Okay.
So we're coming up on 4 years.
Okay. All right. 4 years. I thought you were gonna say like 10 years. 2012. Okay. Sorry. So 4 years. Okay. So that's pretty new. Yeah. So what's that like being in a rather small community? I don't know if you'd classify this as a adjacent to farm community. Is this like where the market was for farms? This small town.
Well, where I live, it's known as a military.
Oh, it's
prison,
military
and prison town.
Okay.
So, it's also known as the first city of Kansas.
Okay. Okay.
And ironically enough,
so it was far enough away from Kansas City to have these facilities. Okay. That's why it's out in the farmland.
Right,
okay.
right.
I thought it had to do like with market, and bringing produce in to Kansas City, like it's a way station or something like that.
Well, we're right on the border of Missouri. And growing up as a kid, going to my grandparents' house where they live right across the river.
Okay.
It was a tobacco area.
Oh, okay.
Major tobacco area.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
And of course,
I've been to tobacco farms in Kentucky. Yeah, at the time they were putting up the tobacco in the barns.
Yep, to dry them.
Yeah, it's like a curing process.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we would drive right by the drying barns to go to my grandparents' house.
I like the smell of it, which is, I don't know.
Yeah,
it has a really nice smell to it. Yeah.
And I was very familiar with the owners and the farmers growing up as a kid. The sad part is, when people started suing the tobacco companies, they started realizing that their crops were in danger because, they were losing money.
Right.
So they told the tobacco companies, Philip J. Morris and R.J. Reynolds, that if you're not going to pay us more to supplement what you're having to pay, then we're just going to switch to a different crop. And they switched to soybean.
Okay, yeah. And that's the giant carpet across the plains in the Midwest is soy and corn. Yeah.
Yep.
Thousands of miles of it.
Yep.
Whoosh. Yeah. I remember going through Iowa and just being astounded, like, going down little country roads and you're just enveloped in corn.
Yep.
Yeah. So what's that like being a trans woman and living in a small community like this?
Well, surprisingly enough, we do have a community here, an LGBT community.
Okay.
It's really small. There's an even bigger community in out west in Lawrence.
Okay.
There's also
that's a university town.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And then further west from that is the state capital, which is Topeka.
Topeka, yeah.
And they have a big community there as
they
well.
do. Okay.
Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri has an even bigger community.
Oh, yes.
Because now Kansas City, Missouri is a sanctuary city. They just voted it in.
So Kansas City, Missouri is a sanctuary. How about Kansas City, Kansas?
Not yet.
Okay. Not yet? Or
Not yet.
Do you think they will go that direction?
We're trying.
Okay. You're trying. Okay. And when you say you're trying, are you literally lobbying for that? Are you going out?
Absolutely, yes. It is very important.
Is that a city council kind of a measure? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Absolutely.
Are you working with a group to do that?
No, just myself, really. I mean, I just go out there and do, shout and stand up for my community.
Okay.
I have spoken before city councils before, and as a matter of fact,
I have two, by the way, and that's accessible to anybody.
yes,
Yeah. Just
absolutely.
show up, and sometimes they have a public comment period. Sometimes they have comments on specific things that they're doing. So if you know that they are deciding on something, look at their agendas
Yep.
that are coming up and go and speak on that issue.
Yep, absolutely.
It's
and
very easy.
another thing to keep in mind is if there's an ordinance in your city that you do not like, that you want to see removed, amended, changed, whatever,
Yeah.
or added on to
Yeah.
the books, you can do that, which is what I did for a city south of us
Okay.
on their breed ban for the pit bulls.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And I got it removed
Oh, awesome.
all by myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's so common. It's a really common breed. It's a really common mix, right? So it's really hard to just be like, oh, we're not gonna, allow people to have these dogs. They're so common. They're ubiquitous, in fact. Well, that's great. So that's an example of like direct action. You just went and you spoke to people and they changed the rule.
Yeah,
Great.
you just got to get up off your butt, and better yet, the best thing to do first is to find out who your council member is in your district. Send them an email and tell them what you want to do, and see where they lie on that line.
Sure.
Because if they're not on your side, then what I would recommend is just go before the council and speak publicly.
Right, right. And then it's on record too, because they actually sometimes will video these sessions. They will also take transcripts, and those become part of the public record.
Yes.
Yeah. So also you can bring friends.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
make it a day.
I was all by myself when I got rid of the breed ban.
Yeah.
So
I did that in Cambridge in Massachusetts. We were trying to save some trees, and the city council was talking a lot about that issue. And so a lot of people in Cambridge showed up to talk about trees, and it was pretty great. So that can happen around trans issues. It can talk about they can talk about a lot of different kinds of business that affected the city. Budgetary ones too. Budgets are very important. Where are you going to put the city's resources? Homelessness, etc. Take care of your neighbors. Speaking of that, so you mentioned that there is a small trans community out here. What's that like?
Well,
do you get together, have barbecues?
I do. They are my friends.
Yes.
And one of them is now my new girlfriend.
Okay, great.
I met one of them on, I believe it was Facebook.
Like was Facebook dating?
No, it was. Okay. You know how there's those recommendations that pop up like for friends, and I saw this one girl. And
I always try to hide that section.
Yeah, I saw this one girl, and I clicked on her profile, and it said that it showed where she lived, and I was like, ooh, I need to make more friends.
Yeah.
So I sent her a message before I sent her a friend request and said, hey, I live where I live too.
Sure.
And I'm looking to make some more friends. And so we became friends. And then I met my girlfriend that I have now at the time, but she was just a friend at that time. And then I met this friend's girlfriend, and we are now best friends. And I haven't met too many others, but I've seen them.
Okay.
I've seen people.
Seen them around town?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's take a break for a second.
Sure.
Okay, the wrinkles are showing up really good in this video. I had an interesting night last night with trying to outrun some meth addict type people and meth dealers, and I don't know what was going on. The truck stops here in the U.S. are getting bad. Yeah.
The lot lizards, all that. Yep.
It's so bad. Like, people kept shining lights into my car and I couldn't sleep. Anyway, so I'm a little bit tuckered out this morning. So we were just talking about the local community. So you said that you've seen some other trans or queer people around, but you really haven't formed a a social group or something like that?
We're
Or
trying.
you're trying.
Yes.
How are you trying to do that?
Well, one of the friends that I met, she's formed a group called Kansas Trans Guard, and we're branching.
Oh yes, that's right. That's right. Mm-hmm.
We're trying to branch out to other LGBTQIA plus people to, kind of form up and group together so we can talk about everything that's happening to all of us.
Right, because there's so many things going on right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So bathroom bans and
Yep.
and what else? What else locally is going on?
as far as here is concerned, I would have to say we're not as bad as other places.
Okay.
As far as the schools go, I have not read anything or seen anything or heard of anything.
You're talking about sports.
Sports
Yeah.
or dress code or anything like that for
Drag
the students.
bans.
Yeah. I've not heard anything like that, but there are people who do live here. This is a military and prison town
Yeah.
that are absolutely anti-trans, anti-queer,
And they're very open about that.
very open.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you see that online? Do you hear that when you go to the grocery store? Where do you encounter that?
Well, in all these years that I've been trans, and like I said, I've been socially transitioning longer than I've been
Yes.
pharmaceutically transitioning.
Right, right. And that's actually quite common because transitioning is a big step. It's also a big economic step. Like it's costs a lot of money sometimes. Yeah.
Yep, depending
And
on your
it's-
insurance.
Yeah, and if you don't have insurance, it's all out of
yeah.
pocket. You know. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, this people try to say that this is some sort of moneymaker for the medical community. It is not.
No.
It's just, when you're having to pay your own way. Like, imagine if you're diabetic or something and none of that treatment was covered.
Right.
You would be in debt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's what trans people go through.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's not just trans women who take estrogen either, or
Right.
progesterone.
Right.
Cis women do as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
But as far as any trouble, no, I've never been accosted. I've never been stopped on going into a women's bathroom. That's what I've been telling all my haters and all of the, and I know they hate this term, but the cis women,
Okay.
what I've been telling them is I've never been stopped. I've never been accosted. I've never been, questioned or anything. I go in and I do my business. As you can see, I'm a big girl now. And this is because I've been taking a steroid called prednisone.
Okay.
And it causes you to gain weight.
Yes.
And I suffer from Crohn's disease.
Oh, that's very serious. Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
painful. It's a very
Yes.
painful, incurable disease. So when I need to go,
Yes.
I need to go.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I used to play football in middle school, high school. I'm a former martial artist. I'm a big girl. And so if somebody's going to try and stop me, I'm going to linebacker their rear end to get into that bathroom so I
Right.
can do my business and
Right.
get out because
Yeah.
it's painful to hold it in.
Yeah, and I'm getting to the point of life when you're older. It's also a little bit difficult. Like if you need to go, you really need to go because there's some weakness of the muscles there.
Yes.
And it's so terrible to go to some places and they say, "Oh, you can't use the bathroom or whatever." Come on, be compassionate.
Right.
Especially if you're, you don't know what somebody's going through. Yeah.
Exactly. And if, I was in a women's bathroom and I caught somebody doing something illicit or illegal or something, very perverted.
Well, see, that's the thing. The language you just used, all of what we're talking about there it's all illegal.
Right.
It's already on the books that, peeping on somebody or, being a creep in the back room, all that stuff is already illegal.
Right.
So, just targeting trans people is, it's wrong because it's just focusing on one group.
Right. I would be the first person in that bathroom
Yeah.
to give that person free dental work.
Yeah. Right.
Because I stand shoulder to shoulder with women and protecting women and body autonomy.
Right.
And I sound like a broken record every single day of saying this because they don't get it that trans women, LGBT people have been standing shoulder to shoulder with their straight counterparts for centuries.
Right.
and we've
Yeah.
existed for centuries.
Yeah, it's interesting how all of a sudden, like, very conservative men are so concerned about feminist issues.
Yes.
You know, it's like, I don't think so.
Right. And when you try to bring up
Or women's sports, like, they're so concerned about women's sports.
Yeah.
No, they've never cared about that.
Right. And they don't even talk about all the losses either. Just one or two people
Right.
will make the headlines. Oh, they
Right.
got the gold medal. They got
Right.
first place, but they
Right.
won't talk about, the dozens of other students or athletes
Yeah.
that didn't even place.
Yeah, and students. That's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are kids who are wanting to play,
Mm-hmm.
And it's so low stakes. And I don't know why, why the state keeps targeting children,
Yep.
which is what's going on. So you're trying to coalesce kind of a group here. Do you have any connection to the Lawrence or Kansas City groups?
Not yet.
No, not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
So you pretty much stay home here.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
I am a stay-at-home homemaker
Okay.
right now. My girlfriend, she works. I am polyamorous, so I do have another girlfriend. She unfortunately lives in Texas,
Okay.
and she's trying to move up here.
So you're here in a small town, but it sounds like you're doing a lot of activism here and elsewhere.
Online as I can, because
Yeah.
I just had 2 surgeries. So a lot of what I say is online. And then once I'm better, I'm going to start getting back out and doing
Okay.
my normal things.
Okay. Can you tell me about this? What is it? The Kansas Guard group? Could you tell me?
Kansas Transguard?
Kansas Transguard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, my friend could tell you more
Okay.
about it. It's basically a group that is protecting trans people, whether they're your trans femme or trans male or non-binary. They also help to arm you. So if you want to get armed, they will help you do that. They take donations to help arm trans people,
Okay.
and they also point you in the right direction if you are not familiar
Right.
with firearms.
Right.
Where to go to get familiar with it. And I have been religious about this because I grew up around guns. I'm a hunter.
Yeah.
I'm a conservationist.
Yeah. What do you hunt, by the way?
Here in Kansas.
Yeah.
Or Missouri.
Like whitetail or what is it?
Deer, turkey, pheasant, dove, quail.
Okay.
I would love to hunt wild pig.
Okay.
I would love to. I don't use a gun.
Okay.
I prefer archery.
Okay.
Growing up as a kid, my
Wow,
dad...
that must be quite a thing. Wow.
It is. Because, and forgive me for saying, but any idiot can pick up a gun and pull the trigger and kill something.
Right.
It
Well,
ta-
that's what makes it the great equalizer, right?
Yeah.
Right. So for me, as somebody who's 5'2", it's great because,
Yeah.
go up against a large man or something. Yeah, I have my gun.
Right. They call them game changers.
That's right.
My dad gave me a choice. He said, he says, I can buy you a gun or I'll get you a bow for Christmas.
Yeah. But the bow, so much skill has to go into that. Like the actual stalking and
Yep.
because you can't just be 1,000 feet away or something. Yeah.
Right. Your target is at the most 40, 50 yards away.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's with some skill at 40 or 50 yards.
Right.
I mean,
And that's a heavy bow too.
yes.
Yeah.
You need at least an 80-pound draw.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, somebody had a bow and I tried to pull on it. And it was one of those that has the pulleys. I don't know.
Compound.
Okay. And it was really hard. Like I was trying so hard to get it, and I was always small. So I was like, trying so hard. And I snapped the
You dry fired?
yeah. And my wrist hurt so badly.
Yep.
After that, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
They say the same thing about firearms. You never dry fire a firearm because you can wreck the firing pin, but it's worse for bows because you can
that's not true,
snap
but-
the limbs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not true. I don't think about firearms though, because some people actually encourage that for practice is to dry fire.
Right, but then they sell those snap caps
Right.
that you can put in there.
Right. Yeah, I used to have some. So speaking of that, you kind of warned me off of. Well, you were recommended to me by somebody from the
Kansas Transguard.
Kansas Transguard. But then also, when I did contact you, you kind of warned me off of this interview almost. Yeah. And so let's talk about that briefly, how that went. So,
yes.
Please tell me about that.
So I wanted to make sure that he was fully aware of who he was interviewing.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm also notorious in some circles, so you know.
I went viral online, and we're talking OAN, Fox News. We're talking
all the baddies.
Yeah, Stephen Hilton. I think Ben Shapiro. I know.
Oh no.
Tim Pool.
That jerk.
Quite a few other people.
All those jerks, yeah.
Yeah, they took this one video I had on TikTok where I had a lot of passion in my words, because the night that I made that video, I had just seen nonstop back-to-back death threats towards my friends on TikTok and me regarding the bathroom issue, and I finally had enough, and I said that if you tried to stop me from going into a women's bathroom, it would be the last mistake you ever make. And then after that, I said, this is a call to action, or call to arms for all of my LGBTQIA plus people and allies to arm up, buy a gun, learn, and they cut this part out. Learn how to use it safely.
Right.
Learn your local laws.
Right.
They cut that part out.
Of course.
They kept the good part, and then they added words saying that I've been threatening to kill women and children.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I went viral.
Yeah, it's interesting how they'll take that and twist it, whereas, you know, conservatives are constantly talking about the Second Amendment and people's right to self-defense here in America, which we have, and, you know, talking against gun control and that sort of thing. But then when a trans person says exactly the same thing, all of a sudden it's an emergency situation.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like it's almost an unprincipled stance. If you're going to be principled, stand on that principle.
Right.
You know, hold it. So everybody gets to defend themselves.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
And there are other organizations. There's the Pink Pistols. There's Armed Equality. There's Operation Blazing Sword. These are national ones. Why, for you, I guess, was it important to have a local sort of effort in this?
Well, are you talking about the Kansas Transguard
Yes.
thing? Okay, that's not my organization.
Okay.
It's my friends, and I am a part of it.
Okay. So you're just a member.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
I think it is very important because everyone needs to know that there's someone out there for them, or to stand shoulder to shoulder with, or stand in front of you if you are in fear, or you're scared, or you need someone to talk to. It is important to have groups like this and other groups.
Yeah, and it's intimidating to go into like a gun store, or even someplace kind of mild like the Bass Pro Shop or Cabela's or whatever, and to look at the cases, you know, to look at boxes of cartridges, like because there's so many of them,
right?
And, you know, you have to have a little bit of background to actually know what this stuff is. Yeah. So it sounds really great that there's experts coming in, you know, and helping other people with this. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, if
yes.
they're curious.
I am not a certified firearms instructor, but in my 40 years of existence, I mean, I can blindfolded, I could take apart an AR-15 and put it back together in a little over a minute. As far as an SKS or an AK-47, that would take me a little bit longer. I think the last time I was timed with an SKS, it was around 2 minutes and 14 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit harder because that gun is the spring is a lot stiffer.
Okay. Yeah, I know up in Alaska people love those because they can customize them a lot. And that's what people are like, oh, they're so scary. But the reason why people like them is because they can customize them. You know, otherwise they just get like a little wooden gun or whatever, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Like a basic Mosin Nagant. The SKS that I'm talking about that my dad had was a basic Chinese paratrooper, just basic wood stock.
Yeah,
all
Woodstock.
basic.
And that one doesn't look as scary, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It runs. They have the same rounds, the same power, all that. It's just wooden.
Yep.
Less scary looking. Yeah, so I actually love peer-to-peer efforts. So it's not like you have to be some expert. It's not like you have to be a certified something. Right? If you have some expertise, you can help friends of yours. You can help people in your community develop those skills. Right? So I come out of anarchist communities when I was younger, and we would call that like a skill share. We would call that mutual aid. Right? So you don't have to appeal to an authority or to expertise in order to help people that are around you.
Exactly.
I love that.
And a lot of people, I'm sure you can agree, they're afraid.
Maybe.
They're afraid of guns, like afraid to shoot them, like the recoil,
Right.
like, oh, I'm afraid it's gonna, kick back too hard.
Right. Try a 22. It's just like a little pop.
Yeah, that's where people like me and my friend who is actually in school to be a gunsmith come into play, or your instructors.
Gunsmith.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They will be able to help guide you in the right direction on which firearm would be perfect for you for your own self-defense.
Right. Yeah, because there's all kinds of calibers. And there's ways of carrying as well. Like, for instance, up in Alaska, if you were going to go in the bush, you'd need something different than if you're doing gig work in a big city in the lower 48.
Yep. As a matter of fact, I have family up there.
Yeah.
Up in Alaska. Well, they used to have their practice, their veterinarian practice in
Wasilla, Palmer, Anchorage.
No, it
Fairbanks.
was the only way to get in there is by plane.
Okay, Juneau.
Yes.
Juneau, yeah. That's our state capital.
And he's actually a former Navy SEAL.
Oh, who is?
My family member that used to live there and had a veterinarian practice there.
Sure.
My dad told me that a long time ago, back when I was a teenager, when I first learned about having Navy SEALs in my family.
Okay.
And he was talking about him in particular.
Okay.
And I remember him telling me that, and I go, so this highly trained killer goes to becoming like a soft veterinarian.
Sure.
I was just kind of confused and baffled by that.
Yeah.
And, but yeah.
Well, he didn't need to do that anymore, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He retired as a lieutenant commander.
Yeah.
And his other family members, two of them, I believe, joined the SEALs as well.
Okay.
But they live in other states.
Yeah.
But since you come from Alaska.
Yeah, I actually really like it when people change. And maybe that's my bias because I've changed a lot. But, and trans people go through a lot of change. Like, for instance, my first degree was in geology. And then my second one was in theology. And people are like, that's really different. Well, yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
Before I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, I was going to go in the military for the rest of my life. I was going to be a lifer.
Yeah.
And I was going to split it for my.
So you've been diagnosed for a long time.
Yes, since I was 19.
Okay.
I got diagnosed 1 month before boot.
Okay.
And that was hard on me.
Yeah, because you were making plans.
Right. I had studied my entire childhood life, my entire teenage life. I was in the USNSCC, which is the United States Naval Sea Cadet Corps.
Okay.
And I earned my E3.
Okay.
So when I go to boot camp, I get paid E3 status, and I'm already an E3.
Okay.
So I was really heartbroken when I was diagnosed.
Yes.
And I was going to split my 20 up and do my first half as a certified babysitter for the Marines.
Okay.
As a corpsman. That's what we're called.
Okay.
And then my other 10, I was going to be a master at arms.
Okay.
And that's the military police of the Navy.
Yes.
And then for the rest of my career...
Interestingly, I've met a lot of trans women who have been MPs.
Yep, I wanted to be a police officer.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah.
I wanted to do more than just patrol. Patrol the bases like shore patrol.
Sure.
And the military police that we have up here, they patrol around and stuff like that. I wanted to do more.
Okay.
Like I wanted to be a master at arms and do sub duty. or do carrier duty,
Okay.
or destroyer, or whatever. I wanted to be on the sea and have that expanse of adventure and just beyond the mundane driving and writing tickets.
Did you pick the Navy in particular because you live inland, perhaps?
No, it's because everybody in my family went in the Navy.
Oh, okay.
And I just kind of wanted to continue the tradition.
Okay. My dad, I say that because my dad grew up in St. Louis, and he went into the Navy as well. And I just thought that was interesting because he was from, the Midwest.
Yep.
When I lived in Minnesota, actually, I taught oceanography for a little while, and half the kids there had never seen the ocean with their own eyes.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's just a great distance to the ocean from here.
It is, and you're right. A lot of more inland people do join either the Navy or the Coast Guard. And I highly recommend it.
See the world.
Yes. For free.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm sorry that happened. How do you, since you do have, is it classified as an autoimmune disorder?
Yes, it is an autoimmune disease.
Which all autoimmune disorders are pretty tricky to deal with.
Yes.
Medicine doesn't quite know how to deal with them. So I'm imagining that you have a lot of contact with doctors. Does your being trans ever come up as an issue there? Because you have a lot of contact, you have to have a lot of appointments and that sort of thing.
Yes, it's actually kind of a problem, if you will. The two surgeries that I had were in a hospital that is not LGBT friendly. And
was it a religious-based hospital?
No.
Okay.
It was just... It's where it's located. It's in the 11th, at least the last time I checked, the 11th richest county in the country.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of people there that, lift their nose up in the air at people and did not respect pronouns at all. Did not respect my name. Of course, I haven't gotten it legally changed yet. But it was...
Yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday, about pronouns and about gatekeeping in healthcare and that sort of thing. And, there's different kinds of gatekeeping, and being unwelcoming is a form of it. And and also, when you're a doctor, you have to create trust with a patient, right? And a patient has to trust you in order to come in and have healthcare. And if you can't get the name of somebody's name and their pronouns right, how are they going to trust you with even more vulnerability? Right, with their body, with when they're hurt.
Yes.
It's really important, actually. It's the first step towards trust.
Yes, and this goes beyond pronouns and my name. I mean, it goes as far as the care that I got as well.
Right.
Because
there's interaction, right? And
well, no, I'm talking about the surgery.
Yeah. Okay.
And the care after the surgery, while I was laying in bed.
Okay.
And then after discharge care, it's been a nightmare. The first surgery I had, granted, I will give them this. They saved my life.
Yeah.
And the way they saved my life is I did not know at the time, but back in September, I had a really bad flare-up, and it was so painful that I definitely was ready to unalive myself right then and there. It was that bad.
Sure.
I was curled up on the floor screaming at the top of my lungs. My partner came upstairs, it's my ex-partner, came upstairs and asked me, "What's going on? Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm having a real bad flare-up." And I didn't go to the hospital. Because at first, I went to my GI surgeon in Lawrence, which, of course, is all LGBT friendly, by the way. Lawrence Hospital, the best in the world.
It's a bright blue spot in Kansas.
Yes, and that's why I always wanted all my health care there.
Yes.
He said that because he treats his patients like family, he didn't feel comfortable putting me on the table. I was laying on the exam table, and he was, touching, poking and everything. And I was bawling my eyes out, and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he says, I totally understand. I know you want to stay here, but, I care about you too much. So I want to recommend somebody that I feel can do this surgery for you.
Okay.
And it was and we're not talking about the surgery that for that flare up, because I'm getting into that part. And of course, he was unaware of what actually was happening. So I see this new surgeon, and it's, of course, he, him right off the bat, Mr. So-and-so right off the bat. And I put up with it for a little bit, and I then corrected her. But I had a surgery in January, which they put a temporary ileostomy on me. And when I woke up from the surgery, from what my mother said, because I don't remember the first 3 days after that. So I rely on my friends on Discord to tell me. But my mother said I was screaming at the top of my lungs so bad in pain that they had to hold me down.
Okay.
And when I was able to be conscious, that's when they told me how they saved my life.
Okay.
Apparently, when they went in laparoscopically, I have one small incision here, one small incision here, and one here.
Yeah.
When they went in with the laparoscopic scope, my surgeon looked at my appendix and said, "Oh my God, we need to, okay, everybody stop.
Okay.
What we're doing, we're switching gears here."
Okay.
And they opened me up from belly button down to groin to remove my appendix because it was a hair away from bursting.
Yes.
And if you have Crohn's disease out there, you know as well as I do that we tend to ignore our pain and we don't go to the hospital. So what would have happened is that would have burst and I wouldn't be here talking.
Yep. You'd have gotten sepsis. Yeah. I know actually a lesbian who did the same thing, who kind of ignored her pain because she was just in chronic pain.
Yep.
And then hers burst.
Yep.
Yeah, and they actually had to go in and like clean out her gut, you know, and it's just like horrific.
Yep.
Yeah.
At one time, I was being treated for my pain, my chronic pain. Had a doctor, did that for almost 8 years, and it was wonderful. I had lost weight. I was gorgeous. Got a new wardrobe and everything, and I was so active and happy. But then Mr. Trump stuck his nose where it doesn't belong and ruined that for a lot of us Crohn's patients and chronic pain patients.
Oh, really? What was the specific thing that he did?
He wanted to crack down on the opiate.
Oh, yes.
Epidemic.
It's interesting because that's being pushed by a lot of different kinds of people. And sometimes I hear that from people who might be allies to, or think that they're allies to, people who are disabled or have chronic illness. And I wonder what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Because it punishes people who are disabled and chronically ill when we pull back these medications that actually help them.
Yep.
Right? And it doesn't really affect the drug addicts. The drug addicts are going to move on to whatever is available.
Exactly.
So it doesn't address their problem either.
Nope.
It addresses no problems.
Nope. Absolutely
it's
none.
Ridiculous.
And I took my pain meds as prescribed, never abused them at all. And so when I got cut off, there was really no I forget what it's called,
like an alternative drug that you could use? Or?
No, like the after effects. Like if you were like a serious
withdrawal.
Yes,
right.
There was really no withdrawals.
Well, some people do go through withdrawals because these are heavy medications. Like for instance, I did work for a disabled man who had to take them for a while, and then he would have to stop and go on something else and then go back on. Yep. That's because he had a condition that he was going to have for the rest of his life, and other medical care just didn't work. Right. So that also punishes him. You know, it's just, I'm so mad. I'm so mad when people who are like, I'm so good and I'm so liberal and I'm going to do this good thing. And doesn't it sound so good? Kind of like the red flag laws, or let's get rid of all the guns. Let's get rid of all the opioids. These all sound so good. I'm so good. But then it hurts people. Yes.
I've even had the pro-marijuana people, my friends that actually enjoy it, tell me that I need to try marijuana for my pain. And I have. And I'm sorry, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work for some people. Yeah. And some people use topical preparations, and those do work for some people. but they only work very temporarily as well. Yeah, yeah. And they can't all touch a certain kind of pain.
Right.
Yeah, and Crohn's disease is very painful.
Yep.
Yep.
And all my pain is just located like right here.
Yeah.
And sometimes even lower depending on how bad it is. And when it gets really bad, it makes me nauseous and throw up and not want to eat and everything.
Right. Yeah.
But the prednisone, gosh, it's the worst.
Yeah.
It's the worst steroid ever.
And you can't be on it for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you get on it, it just like shuts down that receptor from your stomach to your brain, and it's like you need to eat, you need to eat, you need to eat. And so you're constantly doing it and you never feel full. It's almost like Prader-Willi syndrome where there's just no receptor at all.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Usually people who go on prednisone, I've never heard somebody praise going on prednisone. Like it's always a problem, in terms of like their emotions and their body, everything.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's really emergency. It's an emergency kind of drug. Yep. So I took a little break there, and it was a good thing too because the dogs are going wild outside. they're barking up something fierce out there. Maybe you can hear them a little bit. My dog doesn't bark that much, but if another dog is barking, he'll get in on it.
Yeah. Gracie out there, she doesn't bark either. It's my neighbor's dogs that bark.
Okay, so instigator there.
Yep.
Okay, all right. I know they're having a lot of fun, though, because when they came inside, they were both like...
Oh, gosh.
They were really breathing hard.
Overheating.
Oh, yes. Yeah, having a good time.
Doing their zoomies.
Yeah, yeah. My dog really needs that, too, because we've just been, driving in the car for a long time. Yeah, so to kind of round out this interview, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about more of the personal stuff about being a trans woman and where you're going from here, where you're at and where you're going with that.
Well, of course, when I first started transitioning socially, I was a couple 100 pounds lighter.
Okay.
And looked a lot better. And was able to wear very cute clothes. I looked really good. It was, for me, going out, and where I lived at the time, it was LGBT friendly. Going out was very easy. It felt right. Liberating.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How old are you, by the way?
I'm 40.
Okay.
And this was when I was around 30, 29 through 30.
Okay. So you're still, going out to the bar kind of phase. Yeah, maybe.
Actually, no.
No? Okay.
I love being an introvert, but I'm in between.
Okay.
So I love to stay in just as much as I love to go out.
Okay.
So I would stay in because we have animals that we had.
Yes.
At the time, 7 dogs.
Oh my goodness.
We had a frog, a turtle, beta. So
you lived at the zoo.
Yeah. Well, that's nothing compared to what I had when I was even younger.
Okay.
I actually did have a zoo.
Okay. Well, I thought you had a lot here with, several dogs and cats and stuff.
Nope.
Okay.
Now just 2 dogs, 2 cats.
Okay. I would love that too. Actually, I used to keep a lot of birds. So
I had birds too.
I love birds, yeah.
I had a umbrella cockatoo. I had a Gende conure. I had an African gray.
Oh, those are some serious birds.
Yes.
Those are long-lived birds, yeah.
I used to have budgies or parakeets.
Okay.
I had cockatiels. I had zebra finches. I had society finches.
Oh, wow. You're like really into the birds.
And that's just aviary.
Okay.
Reptile, I had a mountain horn lizard. I had about a baker's dozen house geckos, a baker's dozen green anoles.
When I lived in Africa for a while when I was a teenager, and geckos would come into my house. We didn't have air conditioning. We just had these grates that had big holes in them, so they would go through those grates and come into my room.
Yep. And then I had about 2 rose hair tarantulas.
Oh, okay.
I had 1 Mexican pink toe tarantula.
Okay.
And then for fish, let's just say I had freshwater and brackish water.
Okay.
Cichlids, mixed in with society fish.
Okay.
Just to,
Yeah.
because I could spend all day naming everything that I had.
Those salty ones too are hard to maintain.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to be really on it.
Full salt water, yes, but
Yeah.
I did brackish water, which is half and half.
Yeah.
Very easy to maintain.
Okay.
And my favorite fish in brackish water was the bumblebee goby. Very cute little itty bitty cute things. They look like a bumblebee, just
Sure.
like buzzing around in the water, and
Yeah.
really cute looking.
So this is like your home life. You know, you're really involved with animals and stuff. What else do you do at home? Do you a lot of gaming, reading?
I am a gamer.
Yeah.
Now I am a gamer. I love the fact that you can learn anything you want when you want.
Okay.
And because I have Crohn's disease and because I am a homemaker, when I get stuff done, I've got time on my hands.
Okay.
So I could read a book, I could listen to music, I could play a game, but half the time I actually choose to learn stuff.
Okay.
Because I love marine life. I love the ocean. I love fish. I love whales. I love seals. And I love shellfish and crustaceans and invertebrates and everything like that. So I get online and I just start learning more and more about it.
Okay.
Because at one time I did have a goal when me and my ex were looking to buy a house to live in Florida.
Oh, okay.
So I could have a better...
Might not be such a good idea now.
Right. I wanted to move
Fuck you,
there.
politicians in Florida.
Yeah. I wanted to live there so it would be easier for me to learn.
Yeah.
Hands-on.
And, when you're... just to talk about the landscape of Florida, which is amazing, and some of the people are amazing there, too. You're right there next to like some crazy looking birds, these big crane looking things, and there's alligators in the little ponds. And I had to actually watch for my dog to make sure he didn't get close to that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because he's real curious. You know.
So I like to self-learn things. I've actually I've learned how to do different welding.
Okay. I'm terrible at welding. I've tried it. I'm terrible.
I've been learning about basic things for home maintenance.
Okay. Yeah.
Carpentry, electrical, drywall.
Have you thought about being a Jill of all trades, like helping out your neighbors, the elderly people and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I know my neighbor. I know one set of neighbors. I haven't met the others, but they have their own kids that come over all the time and help them.
Sure. Okay.
But yeah, I've there's this one trans femme. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's the trans handyman.
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh, she is wonderful.
Is she in Kansas City? Or
she came here.
Okay, so she travels.
Yeah, she came here to do a video.
All right.
To do a fix-it on something. I can't remember what, and I had sent her or made the comment like, "Oh, I wish I would have known you were here because I wanted to meet you."
Okay. So she has a social media aspect to it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
She fixes things. She's a home carpenter fixer upper.
Sure.
And she's trans femme. So
yeah, that's great. Handy ma'am.
Yep. She's gorgeous.
Or like I said, Jill of all trades.
Yep.
I used to know a dyke that was kind of like that too. She had a cute little catchphrase, and I wish I could remember it, but it had to do with her being a lesbian or whatever. And so everybody knew, and she was awesome. So everybody, cisgender people, it didn't matter. Everybody wanted to hire her because she was just a sweet person.
Yep.
Yeah, she actually kind of looked like you. She was like a bigger girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. In the dating world, since I split up with my ex, it's been so weird.
Oh, has it?
Yes.
What do you mean weird? Because dating's always weird. It's weird.
Okay, I don't get it. Maybe your viewers can tell you or put in the comments, but
I don't allow comments.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to find somebody my age.
Okay.
I am a trans femme lesbian, and I've either wanted to find somebody closer to my age or older.
Sure. When I was younger, you could just go out to like a coffee shop and check everybody out.
Yeah.
Because nobody had a phone, nobody had a laptop. You just went to the coffee shop to get your cheap cup of coffee because it was cheap back then. It wasn't expensive. Mm-hmm. And maybe you had a book with you, or you had the weekly newspaper that was telling you about whatever band was in town. But really, you were there to check people out and to listen in on their conversations and see who was cute or whatever. And if you knew that they kind of hung out there, well, maybe you could go there a few times and just kind of scope them out. Who are your friends? And,
Mm-hmm.
and it just was so gentle. And you could, I don't know, it felt like you were really in community. And I realized that the internet also has some pretty tight communities. I'm not that old. I'm not going to say, and I'm not that stuck in my ways or a Luddite or whatever. But, there are communities that can form online, but there's just something to being in somebody's presence and seeing how they are with wait staff, seeing how they are with their friends, seeing what they read, whatever books in their pocket. I really miss that.
Yes.
I really miss that.
The old school ways of dating.
Yeah.
The classified ads, I remember those.
Yeah.
Because
you can't really tell who somebody is from a little picture.
Right.
That's like this big.
Right. You gotta meet them in person.
Yeah.
And I, of course, have dated long distance before, which is
you mentioned that.
Yeah, my ex, and she moved in with me. And before her, same thing, long distance. She moved in with me.
Yeah.
But it's just not the same as actually going out and meeting them in person.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
I think there just should be more. I mean, trans people and queer people sometimes in these emergency situations, like we concentrate on doing activism, which is good. We should all be doing some sort of activism, whether it seems like it's a small thing, large thing, whatever. If you're protesting at the Capitol, if you're writing a letter, if you're just supporting other trans people, all of that is activism. And let's also take care of each other.
Yes.
Let's realize that we have lives and that we need to socialize.
Yes.
Yeah, have some barbecues.
Yes.
What would you like to see? I know some people were starting like motorcycle groups and stuff,
Yeah. Oh, I miss my Harley. I used to have one.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. There's a lot of Harleys out here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. A lot. Whenever I did have mine, it was, and it was nice weather.
Okay.
All the bikes were out.
Yeah. I did notice that there are little hills here like this. They're not gentle hills. They're like, I was like, this is really fun to drive. I can imagine being on a motorcycle would be really fun.
Yeah. There is a road around the cemetery, the military cemetery, that I would take to come up here to visit one of my ex-girlfriends that lived here. And it was always a fun ride because it was always windy and everything.
With all the rivers. Like, I bet there's just a lot of bends and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, what kind of events would you like to go to?
I miss Pride. I really do. I haven't been to Pride in about...
Right, and COVID kind of messed that up for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
I went to Pride before that and went to every single one, but ever since COVID hit, I haven't been able to go. And my ex didn't want to go, so I was just kind of stuck. So I love to go to Pride. I would love to just see a queer or an LGBTQIA plus get together outside of Pride.
Yeah.
Like a LGBTQIA plus family festival or...
and it doesn't always have to be this big money thing either.
Right.
Like Pride is kind of a big money event.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to own my own event medical business, and I worked Pride for 10 years. KC Pride.
Okay.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I got to meet Etta James.
Oh my goodness.
I got to meet a few
Talk
other...
about a big, bold, sexy woman.
Yeah. I got to meet a few other celebrities because I was the one of the owners of the company. And so I had a little bit more experience. So I was in the trailer to make sure that everything was okay. And
Sure.
but yeah, that was fun. Working Pride for 10 years as a medic.
Yeah.
And but yeah,
I do that too. I do a lot of volunteer work because sometimes I find it hard because I'm also more of an introverted person and shy. So I put myself out there in volunteer work so I can connect with more people. Yeah, it's a good way to do it.
And I did it for 10 years until they decided that to save money rather than pay us, they went with nursing students who did it for free.
Okay. Yeah. It's that internship thing. Yeah. What a bummer. Okay.
Just to, like...
Well, good for the nursing students, though, because I'm sure it was good experience.
Yeah. I couldn't be 100% mad because these are students and they need the experience.
Yeah, and that's really good experience, really good exposure to different, to diversity and different kinds of people. And
oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
There were, I can't even... There were so many different types of calls that we went on.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And so, yeah, it's a great experience.
Yeah. Well, yeah, any kind of street party like that is going to be like that. Or, I mean, even just parades, like weird parades, like, 4th of July, like dad's getting drunk and...
Yep. You were wanting to know how I'm handling my transition and everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, ever since I gained weight, I have been really depressed about it.
Oh, okay.
Because I had a nice...
Was it kind of sudden that happened?
Or... Yeah, it was really quick. It was like within a year, I had gained like almost 120 pounds.
Oh my, yeah.
And I just remember looking in the mirror going, oh my gosh. I'm
yeah, that's a significant change.
Yeah. And so it's just really affected my mental health.
Okay.
The weight gain. And but I am losing weight now. Ever since this surgery, they did a resection, and now my pain is sore. It's slowly going back down to zero.
Great.
Once I'm fully healed, then it's time for obedience training with Gracie and walks around the neighborhood to help her with obedience and me with losing weight.
Great. Yeah, and it's good to start out slow and gentle like that.
Yes.
Yeah. And, that's part of your life. So it'll be good for both of you.
Yep.
Yeah. Same with me. Sometimes up in Alaska during, the peak of COVID, I would be just kind of stuck in my cabin. Sometimes even snowed in. Oh, tell you what. But, just getting out with my dog was really helpful in many ways.
Yes. And I love your dog, by the way.
Oh, I know.
He's such a sweetheart.
Everybody falls in love with my dog. I know. He's so handsome too. He's a good boy. He's all the dogs. I mean, it's pretty rare that a dog doesn't get along with him. Yeah. So all right, that's a good place to end, talking about my sweet dog. Thank you so much for talking with me. And what does your shirt say? Trans girls
are hotter.
Are hotter.
I'm a lesbian, so. And actually, really quick story.
Yeah, awesome.
One of my emergency room visits from after my first surgery that I had to go because I was bleeding really bad.
Sure.
One of the nurses looked at my shirt and said, she read it out loud, trans girls are hotter. And she looked me in the eye and she goes, yeah, that's true. And then as she was putting the IV in me, she whispered in my ear, I really meant it.
That's great.
And so everybody's like, well, did you get her number? And I go, well, no, I was doped up on pain meds at the time, so I totally forgot.
Yeah. And maybe you don't want to, hit on somebody when you're doped up.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very respectful in the hospital.
Yes, exactly. Wow, that's cool. That's cool. You got some pretty good care there.
Yep. And I thoroughly enjoyed this talk with you.
Oh,
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was, I overslept. I was, dealing with those, unfortunately, some social problems last night, drug addicts and whatnot. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to just kind of driving around and enjoying the day. It looks like it's beautiful out today. So.
Well, I highly recommend you head up north as far as you can before you get into the base and take a left.
Okay.
And you'll see the prison on your right. And after you pass the prison, there's a road that will take you up almost like behind the prison. And there's a little watch area up there. And hopefully you'll be able to see the buffalo.
What?
Yep.
What? There's buffalo out
At the prison. Yep.
Oh, awesome. So they have their own herd of buffalo on the prison grounds?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, that's cool.
As a matter of fact, the last time I went up there, it was when Michael Vick was one of our famous visitors at that
guy?
prison.
Let's not talk about him. He's an asshole.
And I saw him.
Okay, yeah. He abused a bunch of dogs and stuff. So, anyway, yeah, actually, the drive up to Alaska, we also see, I will also be seeing some bison up there. It's a, obviously a different herd, a different type, but, yeah. And they are by the roads, and sometimes you can see them when you drive by, and it's like you think that it's a giant rock or something because they're just sleeping there and they're just hanging out.
Yep.
But it's like
if you're on a bridge,
a ton of bison there.
Yeah, if you're on a bridge and there's a big herd crossing that bridge actually you feel it shaking,
and you'll be waiting for a while.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Thank you.
And,
yes, absolutely.
Being really patient with my being late and tired and stuff.
Absolutely. Not a problem.
All right. Well, I wish you well in some of the trials that you're going through. We touched on that a little bit, and yeah.
And I wish you a safe journey throughout the country
as
well.
I know. It's like 5,000 miles worth of bad roads coming up.
Yep.
But I'll get to see the bison at some point.
Yep.
All right. Thank y'all.
Yep. Thank you.
I have an interview later today with, I think they're leathermen. Yes. Trans men who are leathermen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're involved in the leather community, the kink community and stuff like that. So that should be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I also, too, have been involved in the kink community as well.
Yeah.
Throughout it, I call it my resume. When people that I'm dating ask me what my kinks fetishes are, I say, well, it's better for me to just send you my resume.
Okay. It's a long list.
Yes, very long.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more simple than that, but it takes all types.
Yep.
All right, bye y'all.
Bye y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.